Hey everybody, Tim Albrecht here. Welcome to this week's episode of the Ask a YFP CFP segment of the Your Financial Pharmacist podcast, where we feature questions from you, the YFP community, to be answered by one of YFP Planning's fee-only certified financial planners. Before we jump into today's question, I want to give a shout out to YFP Planning's incredible team that makes this segment possible. YFP Planning offers fee-only comprehensive financial planning that is customized to the pharmacy professional. You can learn more about those one-on-one services and book a free discovery call by visiting yfpplanning.com. Again, that's yfpplanning.com. Okay, this week's question came from the YFP Facebook group, and we thought it'd be a good one to bring here onto the podcast. The question is, hey everyone, a friend is about to get a big bonus for his job. Not sure what would be the best way to not pay too much of tax on the bonus. He has a rental that has a mortgage on it and also some student loans. What would be your advice for him on how to spend the bonus? Tim Baker, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think two-part question is like, how do we avoid taxes, and then like how to spend it, right? So to me, this is where we get into a conversation of like, what are the goals? What's the balance sheet look like? You mentioned a rental and student loans. We recently did a question on this that was, returning a paycheck for a highly compensated employee. And, because of where we're going potentially with the economy and rising inflation, it could be just to sit on that money too. So I think really having a kind of a conversation around that is going to be really important. So I think, for me, like just to kind of back up and explain kind of how bonuses work. So if your employer pays you a bonus as kind of part of your regular paycheck, it's going to be taxed like regular income. And, our regular income is, we have tax rates 10, 12, 22, 24%. Most of our clients are going to be living in that 24% bracket, but it's a progressive, tax scale. If the bonus is delivered kind of as a separate check and it's kind of categorized as the supplemental income, it is taxed as a flat 22% from a federal withholding perspective. So it's really indicative of how the bonus is paid to you. Is it paid to you as kind of like an ordinary regular, income, or is it actually like a separate supplemental check? So instead of adding it to your ordinary income and taxing at your top marginal rate, the IRS considers a bonus as supplemental wages and levies a flat 22%, along with the state, the FICA taxes, and some of those other things. So that's why sometimes it's like, hey, I got a $1,000 bonus, and you get like $600. Part of it is that every dollar of that from Get is a 22% haircut along with those other things. Whereas your regular income, it's progressive. The first a bit is taxed as 10, the next bit is taxed as 12, the next bit 22 and 24. And you could be taxed very little at 24, but for a bonus check, it's flat. So that's the big thing is understanding how it's going to be paid and then what that tax rate is going to be. In terms of what to do with it, if you're trying to avoid taxes, the best thing to do with it is kind of just like a regular paycheck, Tim. It's to look at making a retirement contribution to shelter some of that bonus money from taxes. It's to contribute to an HSA. It could be looking at some type of deferred compensation plan. If you itemize, it could be to pay down, medical debt or medical expenses, or make a charitable contribution. But it's really none of those things. And the goal is, hey, I really want to, maybe increase my real estate holdings or pay down the debt. There's really no way around that tax man. So you're going to take your haircut and basically apply that after tax money to a student loan or a mortgage or whatever that may be. So to me, I think the critical piece is, one is to kind of really understand what the goal is. And again, like anytime that you know that there's going to be a windfall, Tim, whether that is something like an RSU vesting schedule or a bonus structure that is going to come fairly regularly, I would have these conversations with your advisor or with yourself to say like, okay, I'm earmarking these dollars for the purposes of X, Y, and Z. I've talked about with my journey, Tim, when we follow the profit first methodology. So when we as owners make, a profit from the company on a quarterly basis, I earmark that right to the real estate investment, which actually turned into the RV purchase. but I've already made that up. Or maybe it's a percentage that 80% goes here, 20% goes here.
Yep.
But it really emphasizes the intention, the intentionality behind what we're trying to do, and not saying, okay, willy-nilly, this bonus is going to be for this, or this bonus is going to be for that in the moment. So I think understanding how it's taxed and then understanding like what the goal is, and probably doing that beforehand I think is going to be important. But in a lot of cases, unless you're doing those traditional things of like a retirement contribution, an HSA, you're going to have to pay the toll. And unfortunately, with supplemental wages, that's that flat 22% haircut just at federal right off the get. So, but it's a great question.
The toll example is great, Tim. It reminds me of we were making a trip up to see my family in Buffalo, and we started to leave and we realized we didn't have our Easy Pass with us. And it reminds me of the times where I go through the toll and it's like, you want to go through and hope you're not going to be charged, but you're going to be charged at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So it can be an illusion that you have a $10,000 bonus, but you really don't have $10,000 right at the end of the day. So you're going to get taxed. And I think this is a great example of where the financial plan and the tax plan come together. What are we trying to accomplish? What are we working towards? And then what strategies, if any, do we have from a tax efficiency and tax optimization standpoint? And perhaps maybe even an opportunity to negotiate accordingly in the future for other bonuses, right? If you know that 10,000 is going to be, really more like 6,000, is there an opportunity to, have some conversations about how that bonus arrangement is structured? And I know for many folks, bonuses aren't very clearly defined in terms of, where they come from or how they're measured or how often they're given. But for some folks, maybe if they're on an incentive plan or other things, is there an opportunity to negotiate some of that as well, knowing that a big chunk of that is going to come out to taxes? So this is a great question, one we haven't had before.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the discussion among the Facebook group about this as well. If you're not already part of the YFP Facebook group, I'd really encourage you to join. Over 8,000 pharmacists all across the country that are jumping in to help one another, encourage one another, answer questions along the way as well. So that's a great community to be a part of. If you would like to have a question answered on an upcoming episode, you can submit us an email, info@yourfinancialpharmacist.com. You can also record your question by visiting yourfinancialpharmacist.com/ask-YFP. As we wrap up this week's episode, an important reminder that the content in this show is provided to you for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to provide and should not be relied on for investment or any other advice. For more information on this, please visit yourfinancialpharmacist.com/disclaimer. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your week.